we've got the Community Shield coming up next weekend. Liverpool involved with that against Manchester City. What's interesting in this game is that you had no Salah, you had no Firmino, and you had no Mane. So up front, you've got Oxlade-Chamberlain, you've got Origi and Wijnaldum. The gulf in class between the first three and that three has got to be a concern, isn't it? Because those are the three you'd imagine they're going to start against Norwich in 2 weeks' time.
Do you know, it would be great if we could sit here and just talk about that alone, because it deserves to be. But the rock that Liverpool really was built on over the last 18 months was the defence. So if you're going to be losing goals the way they've been losing goals in pre-season, it really doesn't matter who you've got up front, because it's been an absolute disaster. I can't argue with you. Yes, it is a worry. Yes, I'm sure they'll start the season with a normal three up front, but they won't be 100%, and that's not how you want to start the season.
But the back four were the back four today, weren't they?
I have nothing to say other than it's pre-season. I've been part of a Liverpool defence that was rock solid as well, but in pre-season we were letting goals in for fun.
Okay.
And so the only thing I will tell you is that the difference between a pre-season game and a proper game is you're completely switched on. You're doing a lot of things automatically. Pre-season, you're a yard slow and you're overthinking most of the time. And the goals we saw there, it wasn't that Liverpool didn't have players back. They had plenty of players back, but nobody's sharp. Nobody's thinking clearly. Nobody's making good decisions. And trust me, Dan, when the whistle goes for the first game of the season, it will kick in.
So don't worry.
I'm not worried.
Right.
I'm not worried. I've kind of gone off where you started with the front three.
No, it's okay.
But I'm not particularly worried about that. But I'm not worried about the back four.
Liverpool's defensive qualities are based around the intensity in which they close the ball down. That's what they've done ever since Klopp's been the manager. From the front three, the midfield players, the back four, squeezing up, dropping off at the right time, but making it easier for those back four by the front three and the midfield three, closing it down with great intensity. When they've played in these pre-season games, they've just dropped that intensity down, and it shows that they can then be played around. So they have to be at their top performance week in, week out, Liverpool, because when it came to a technical game, Napoli had the better technical players today, like the likes of Insigne, the likes of Mertens. Milik played well, Zielinski in midfield. They're good players, but if they were closed down properly by Liverpool, that wouldn't have been the case.
But they will be, won't they? According to Stevie, the season will start and they'll be fine.
It's difficult to just switch it on. But I think 2 weeks' time, I don't think they played particularly well because a week to play the Community Shield, they probably still won't be at full pace then. 2 weeks' time, they've got to be at full pace, otherwise they could have a poor start to the season.
But you can't imagine those three key players that I mentioned starting against Norwich in 2 weeks.
I don't think they will start. I think that's... Jurgen Klopp's played the same team in the last two games against Sporting and in that game there against Napoli. I still think he's going to start that very first game against Norwich with Wijnaldum on the left, Origi through the middle, and he's going to play with Oxlade-Chamberlain down the right-hand side, because that has been the best side he's had available to him in the last two games, and that's why he's played them, because he needs them fit for that very first game against Norwich.
But he's lucky, though. It's Norwich at home.
Right.
That's a huge help, because you know Norwich are going to be nervous. You know Norwich, regardless of what they're talking about, how they're going to play, you know they're going to sit in, because they won't have any option anyway. And then the argument to that is that, well, if they're going to be sitting in and there's no space, then is Wijnaldum and the Ox going to be capable with no space to get the ball in the back of the net?
Wijnaldum's good in the air.
What's the answer to that, Steve? You seem to be having your own internal debate.
I know, yeah.
Wijnaldum's good in the air. If crosses come into the box from Oxlade-Chamberlain, Wijnaldum will win balls in the air.